Now, many of us have heard of astral projection, and basically, this is usually occurs. It can occur during the daytime, and it can occur during night. But for the most part, it usually manifests something that manifests when you are in a sleep state. Basically, your soul projects outside of your body into other dimensions or the spiritual realm. And during this time, you can have spiritual visitations. These are perhaps loved ones who have crossed over into the other side. This could be friends who have crossed over and are no longer with us here in the physical world, but they come to you through that state, the sleep state, to communicate with you important messages. And this is something that we call astral projection. The human body contains a soul. That's what is our personality, what is talking through us, that knows everything. That is the actual human soul. But the human soul is not meant to stay in the body 24 hours a day all the time, meaning that it doesn't necessarily leave. But within the body itself, the soul can travel to different dimensions. So when we talk about astral projecting, it's not so much that your soul is really leaving the other body, but it's vibrating at a higher speed or a higher level of vibration, as we call it. So this facilitates your soul to be able to travel to these dimensions. So if our soul was to ever depart from our body for a certain long amount of time, then we would no longer be here. We would pass over or cross over into the other side. And sometimes that's what happens with near-death experiences, or people who have died and crossed and then are resuscitated and they come back. But for the most part, astral projection or astral travel is when your soul is basically climbing to other dimensions or to the spiritual realm. And usually, like I said, the human soul was meant to stay in the human body. Throughout the day it is awake, and since we are awake, a lot of us who are developing or may not be up to the same skill level as a lot of the mediums or spiritual people out there, who are awake and may not be able to fully comprehend or understand how this actually works. But astral travel, some of the symptoms that you may feel when your body is astrally traveling is almost like a levitation. So let's say you are in a laying position, and you are asleep, of course, dreaming. Sometimes you may actually feel like your body is levitating. It's sort of like lifting off. You feel your body, but you feel like your soul actually lifting out of your body. But it's not really that your soul is leaving. Again, I want to make that clear. It's just that your soul is vibrating at a higher level, which that's how you would feel spirit. So that's how spirit feels. They're very light. What we have here, our body, is physically heavy, but a soul doesn't have any kind of weight. So it's basically, something that's very super light. And a lot of people have asked, well, in the event that, a person crosses over, what does it feel like when you do cross over? And the best thing that I can describe is like, think of a boat. Think of your body as like a boat, and you have an anchor attached to that, to hold the boat into the water. Well, once you pass, the anchor is lifted and the boat is able to sail away. It's kind of the same thing with our body. When we pass, the soul actually gravitates out of our body, usually at an angle forward, so it's like going at an angle, and it starts levitating out. And that's kind of like why a lot of people who go through astral projection actually feel this kind of symptom or experience. Another way that you can know that you are astrally projecting is again, and I think I've mentioned this in one of my articles before, if you are waking up and you've been to the doctor and there's no medical reason to explain this, but if you are waking up and you're more tired than what you are before you went to sleep at night, This could be very well indicative that you are astrally traveling, meaning that your soul is traveling and visiting other dimensions while it's still in your body, of course. So I want to make that clear. Other symptoms may be is that you will have lucid dreaming as well. And with lucid dreaming, you recall a lot of the details of your dream, and it feels so real. I don't know if any of you out there have ever dreamed like falling from a building, and then when you wake up, you're racing, your heart is racing and pounding, and it's just like it was like you were going through it, you know, while you were dreaming or asleep. And that is something that's astrally projecting, you know, that's astral projection, and that's the best way I can describe it. And with dreams, you know, a lot of people, and I'll probably do another video about that to cover that, but with dreams, a lot of people, you know, ask me, well, I dreamt this, you know, and I want to be clear about something. The messages that you are receiving, if you're a person that has never dreamed before, but now you're, let's say, more spiritually inclined, and you are experiencing a lot of dreams, you do need to keep a dream journal, just like a regular journal, and write down the things, you know, the day, the time that the dream occurred, more or less, but keep track of what, you know, you are experiencing in the dream, things that stand out in your dream particular. It could be faces, places, things, numbers, you know, colors, anything, any animals in your dream, you know, what you were feeling in that dream, and kind of document that. And the reason for this is because a lot of people who are mediums, strong mediums, they start, a lot of the strongest mediums, they have a lot of dreams, but again, that's doesn't always necessarily, it's not necessarily the case for everybody. Everybody's different, but a lot of times, you know, people will who are developing tend to have a lot of dreams, or people who are trying to who have recently lost someone, or who have not received closure for the passing of someone that they cared about. You'll find that dreams sometimes helps, you know, is a way for spirit to come through our loved ones and give us messages so that we can receive some kind of closure, or feel that, you know, that they're not far away, because spirit is not really far away from us. They're just in a different reality, which is very close to us, but again, it's like another dimension, and we can't feel them or see them unless you are a medium and you're channeling, you're able to, you know, to pick up on those things. But going back to astral projection, astral traveling, if you are traveling at nighttime, you may, like I said, receive some messages from them that may be sort of prophetic. A lot of people who have dreams out there, they do find that, you know, when they're astrally projecting, that they do receive messages, or they do see, like, you know, events playing out. And it's not necessarily that it's going to happen that way. It could be something that spirit is trying to give you, like a warning, or give you some kind of sign, so that you can use this to your benefit. And again, spirit cannot interfere with our destiny or our spiritual path, but they can influence, and they can, you know, kind of give a heads up, you know, not so much to change the course of action, but to help us. So that's where a lot of people who do astral traveling find themselves. It's something that, you know, some people are afraid of. They don't want to feel the effects of astral traveling. There's a lot of people who don't like to have dreams, and one of the common themes, like with you know, a lot of people, is that you may experience some nightmares that are kind of vivid, and they may stand out to you. So if you're going through nightmares, it could be that you're astrally traveling to other dimensions as well. And when I say other dimensions, it's not just the earth and you know, the spiritual realm where all the people who have passed go. There are other dimensions, other realities, and within the spiritual realm itself, there are other levels or hierarchies within those within the spiritual realm, or as people call it, heaven. Within heaven itself, you know, there are different levels depending on how well, you know, we've learned our lessons here on the physical world. Depends on how, you know, what level we go into. The higher the level, the closer to God, the closer to you know, the divine source or the divine consciousness. So, like, you know, there's different levels, and the angels, they are at the highest level with God, or the universal consciousness. But for the most part, you know, if you're having a dream, don't, you know, totally freak out if it's something that is, you know, involves you being harmed in some kind of way in your dream. That's not necessarily going to transpire or happen. A lot of people seem to jump to those conclusions, you know, well, it felt very real to me, you know, and it happened, and so what if it happens in, you know, real life? Most of the time when you have dreams, there's an alternate meaning behind it, and again, that's a separate video, so I won't go into that. But hopefully, you know, this video is helpful for those of you out there that are going through astral traveling and astral projection, and you know, are able to travel. You're a traveler out there, so if you've ever been told you're a traveler, that's what they meant by that. You're basically astrally projecting when you are asleep, but you're really not asleep. When you are asleep, you are actually awakened in another reality. And even if you're not dreaming out there, and you may not recall your dreams, or if you are dreaming but you don't recall your dreams, your soul is still working on the other side. So, but we refer to astral traveling as you know, you traveling other dimensions. But sometimes, even when you can't remember, you are traveling, and your soul is learning while it's asleep. But you know, as I stated in articles, there are ways for you to, like, set up boundaries. If this is something that is happening to you, and it is quite, you know, happening quite frequently, and you want it to stop, all you have to do is sort of say some prayers before bedtime or before you go to sleep. Basically just say that you revoke any spiritual agreements, you know, to astrally travel. You don't want to astrally travel at all. And just pray that your angels, you know, set up that protection. Spirit, for the most part, has to respect our boundaries. And I think that's where a lot of people are not fully aware of, you know, that you can control your gift. You may not be able to control, let me rephrase that. You may not be able to control your gift and what you see and what information you get, because there's not really an off and on switch, but you can set up boundaries or protection for yourself so that spirit doesn't come and interrupt you when you are sleeping. Because like I said, our body is a physical vessel, and that's what houses our soul. And so our body needs rest, it needs plenty of sleep, it needs to be eating healthy. It needs, you know, proper, you know, fluids and water. So basically, if you're going through a lot of this, it may be because you haven't set up boundaries. Other methods that you can do is set up some clear quartz crystals, one on each side of your bed, or on the four corners of your bedroom. And this kind of neutralizes energy that may be negative, or that may be, you know, causing a lot of this. So there's many things that you can do, but these are just a few to name. But I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you are looking at this video, at the very bottom right hand side, there is a subscribe button. Click on subscribe, and you'll be able to be notified whenever I publish a new video on YouTube. If you're tuning in from YouTube, you can follow me on Facebook. It's my page is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman. If you are tuning in from YouTube, I do have a website. It's www.psychicmediumray.webs.com. And if you're on Instagram, it's Psychic Medium Ray, and go ahead and give me a follow. And then on the upper right-hand corner of Instagram, there is 3 dots, and if you click on those 3 dots on my page, on my home page, in Instagram, then you would just scroll down to turn on post notifications. And basically the same thing as YouTube. Is kind of like subscribing to me, which is free, no cost for you, but you'll be notified whenever I post something to Instagram or again to YouTube. So thank you so much for tuning in, and blessings and love and light.